Hi everyone, welcome. I'm going to take you on another ride today, and it's quite a special ride because it's a route we've been trying to do for a while. We've just got round to planning it and it ended up as a spectacular ride. For me, it was 80 miles and it's fairly undulating. I think we had about 2,200 feet of climbing. I did it on the tri-band, so it was a manual ride, not electric. And it was absolutely superb. So please stick around for a few minutes and we'll start that video. What I'd like to do first, if you bear with me, is just talk about a survey that I did recently. And the reason for the survey was that on a recent guided ride, I had 6 riders plus me. We were relatively spaced out because of the COVID restrictions, but not spaced out enough that cars could cut in on us. On the narrow routes, we were riding single file as we needed to be. But on some of the wider routes that we could have ridden 2 abreast, we chose to ride single file. And that was mainly because of the attitude of many drivers who would see a group of cyclists 2 abreast as holding them up. But riding single file, they see us less as holding them up, but just a bit of a nuisance sometimes. The truth is that had we been riding 2 abreast, cars would have got past us much easier because there would have been more opportunities to pass this short group of cyclists rather than this stretched out one. But of course the perception is that 2 abreast holds them up. So to avoid any unpleasantness with a group of relatively new riders, I chose to ride single file. So as a result of this, I decided that I'd carry out a survey, which I did on the Nextdoor website, which is a community website in the Grantham area. And I asked the question, as you can see here, is it better for motorists or better for drivers if cyclists ride single file, or if they ride 2 abreast when safe to do so? It's interesting that the numbers that were against riding 2 abreast were not as high as I thought they would be. So although there were more in favour of riding single file, it was surprisingly relatively even. Now, of course, whenever you do something like this in the media, you have to brace yourselves for the normal negative comments. But I did head that off at the pass actually, because I found a superb article, of which I'll put a link below, that explains the old chestnut of road tax. So I put that link in, and as you'll see here, I made the comment, if you're going to make the comment about road tax, just read this first. And I have to say the comments that I did get were very positive. They weren't all pro-cyclists, but they were certainly quite sensible comments. So it's clear from these numbers that there's an education requirement. Many drivers probably haven't picked up the highway code since they passed their tests, so they don't understand that we can ride 2 abreast when safe to do so. In fact, one day I had a chap coming the other way on a scooter, motor scooter, and he shouted single file, and there was a man that clearly doesn't know the rules. So my point really is that we need to be courteous when we're around motorists. Clearly, if we've got our head down trying to beat a Strava segment, we're probably not going to be so courteous. Things like excessive speed on a pedestrian shared path is not a good idea. If you're going to go for a Strava segment or some sort of record, then do it on the open road. Don't do it around pedestrians, because that does draw the ire of pedestrians. Equally, when we're on the road, if we're holding people up for a long time, then think about pulling over. And if we're in large groups, as you'll see here, this peloton we saw, they were having a great time, and it's good that they were, but you can see the car behind held up. It's probably a farmer looking at that vehicle. So with the driver behind this peloton, he's probably got a job to do. He needs to get to somewhere, But he's sitting there patiently, which is good. But I would have suggested, if that was me leading that group, I would have broken them up on the narrower roads into probably 2 or 3 smaller groups. And on this particular section where the road is passable, if the cyclists were single file, I'd have them single out just to give people a chance to get by. And it's very nice because most drivers do thank you for that courtesy, and it goes a long way to healing any rifts between cyclists and other road users. We complain about people being impatient behind us, but we don't know the circumstances. For all we know, somebody could be desperate to get to a hospital to see a dying relative. We don't know. There's one thing we can say for certain, and that's that, vehicles are going to remain on the road forevermore, and cyclists are going to remain on the road forevermore. We are all entitled to share that road. So what we need to do is try and be as courteous as we can, but also try and educate people in terms of what is acceptable. Of course, I'm not the cycling police. This is just my opinion. I just feel that we need to make some changes, because if not, this animosity that currently exists is only going to get worse. But please have your say. I'd love to hear what you think, and please make your comments below. Anyway, that's enough of me spouting off. Let's go and ride. I'm exploring another new route today. I've taken the northern route from Newark and right up to Tuxford in Nottinghamshire, and picked up the old railway. It's an NCN route, and it's taken us all the way across to Harby. In fact, we could go all the way to Lincoln. Lincoln's another 7 miles on, but I thought I'd stop here and just mention Harby. This is Harby in Nottinghamshire as opposed to Harby in Leicestershire, and what it's known for is this lady, Queen Eleanor. The Eleanor concerned is Eleanor of Castile, and she married King Edward Longshanks. He was 15 and she was only 10, and it was here she was on her way north to meet her husband, the king, when she died at this village of Harby. To get her back to London, the trip obviously took a long time by horse-drawn hearse, so they stopped at various places on the way. They stopped, for example, in Grantham, Stamford, and at each place they stopped they built an Eleanor cross. There are actually 12 crosses, and if you were to go to Geddington in Northamptonshire, which is near Corby, there's a complete Eleanor cross. Other notable crosses and places named after them are Waltham Cross, and then the final one is Charing Cross.